So many people today are suffering. Our world seems consumed by fear. Fear of war, fear of what may happen. I see around me in my life so many marriages falling apart, families being destroyed, people giving up. Should we be surprised? The enemy doesn't stop his assault on God's people. The scorpion continues to sting. He only wants to destroy. But in this hour, there is one who always wants to save. In this hour, call upon Our Lady and her Son. Call upon the one who can crush the head of your dragon. Don't get caught up in the hustle and bustle and busyness of our secular world. Spend your time before the Blessed Sacrament rather than the television. Put aside your smartphone and take up your rosary and call upon the Mother who loves you and the Son who saves you. And weak and small as you feel, you will find victory.
Glory to God in the highest.
And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. And hopefully all of you will be learning a lot of useful things from this compilation. And since this video is going to be released on Saturday, so I'm going to release a relatively shorter video this time, and by that I mean in terms of the number of clips in the compilation. So what I would like to do is share this clip of Father Joseph Iannuzzi's explanation on a subject which was raised by Mel Gibson during his most recent interview.
We got a pope that brought a South American idol into the church to worship.
I'm not going to waste my time sharing any more of that from Mel Gibson, but here's the clip of Father Iannuzzi that I was referring to. Listen to this.
First of all, the Pope took an indigenous statue, which is indigenous to the peoples of the Andes, that was passed down to them by the Inca mythology that represents Mother Earth. Pacha meaning world or earth, Mama meaning mum, mother. You know, St. Francis in his canticle says, sister, moon, brother, sun. He also refers to the earth as mother. But these are creations of the one true God, which is, as we know, the Holy Father, the Holy Son, the Holy Spirit. But the church has, for 2,000 years, used profane symbols, artifacts, even structures, and converted them, consecrated them for sacred use. It's not unusual for the church to bring into it something that up till then has been used or destined for profane usage in order to consecrate it or direct those who venerate or worship it to the one true God, which is Christ. There are 11 pagan churches in Rome that have been converted by the Catholic Church into what are now church sites, several of which where masses are being celebrated as I speak. Take one, for example, the Pantheon. The word itself is many gods, pagan gods. The church converted that into a Catholic church. This is the church's custom. And additionally, there are 3 Roman sanctuaries to the pagan god Mithras that were converted and built over with churches. Another example is the tonsure, the pre-Vatican II time, when priests said the Latin Mass, which I do. They would get a tonsure, the hair would be cut a certain way. You know, this goes all the way back to Scriptures, Leviticus 19:27, goes back to the Nazarene vow that Paul took, goes back even to Buddhism and Hinduism. They would cut their hair and dedicate it to their God as well. So the church can take something that preceded it, that did not start with Catholicism, and make it Catholic. Same thing with the wedding ring. It goes back to the Egyptians, who were not even Christian. They started the exchange of wedding bands for marriage. Then it passed on to the ancient Romans, and then the church adopted that and made it sacred. The church does that also with certain, what do you want to call them, decorations for Christmas, like the tree. The tree can represent the tree of life, found in the first and last books of the Bible, which is a beautiful symbol. But people can criticize it and say, oh, no, it has pagan beginnings, we should get rid of it. Same thing with the triangle. The pyramid, it started with the church in terms of it representing God. And then the secret societies adopted what we used and used it for their nefarious practices. So if you see in a church a pyramid with an eye, they say, oh, that's the eye on the back of the dollar bill. The Freemasons are in the church. It's the other way around. The church adopted that symbol first, and the secret societies take it and use it to work in the shadows, of course. And the list goes on and on. I mean, there are so many things that the church has used. Take one more last example, logos. In Greek, it meant a pagan deity, logos. It meant an impersonal force that put things in motion in the cosmos. Now, this is a heresy because our God is not impersonal, he's three divine persons. What did Saint John the Evangelist do? The beloved disciple of Christ. He took a pagan word known in the whole world in which he lived as a pagan word, and he applied it to Jesus Christ. Imagine that. He said, Jesus is the Logos. And that's why at the end of the Latin Mass, on the left side of the altar, the priest reads from the Martyrology, the Gospel of John. In principiat erat verbum, et verbum erat apud Deum. So verbum means logos. Logos is Greek, verbum is Latin. So John took a pagan word and applied it to Jesus Christ. And every day when we say the creed, we don't even realize this. We're invoking a pagan word, but it has been Catholicized, consecrated, destined for purely sacred use in the way in which we use it during the creed or in the Gospel of John. Did the Pope and these cardinals worship the pagan god? Absolutely not. And I challenge anyone to provide me with a video, a photo, or even a statement asserting as much. You can't, because it does not exist. Rather, what the Pope did was he brought into the church the indigenous of the Andes, consider their deity or where they render hyperdulia adoration like we render to the Blessed Mother. It's not latria, which is worship. It's hyperdulia, which is unique reverence. The saints, we give dulia, but Mary, hyperdulia. Regardless of how they looked at it, when the Pope brought in this statue, he didn't put it in place of the Blessed Sacrament. That would have been something else. He put it on the floor at the feet of Christ, where every knee will bend and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. So there's no worshiping going on here. And several statements have come out forcefully from the Vatican denouncing those who claim such things. Now, I'm sure the people who claim it are, in their own mind, doing good and they're defending the faith. God bless them. But they don't realize that there was no worship here. And that's why I challenge them, so that they can inform themselves of the truth here.
For the past couple of months, if you notice, I've been releasing a lot of videos that cover heaven and hell, judgment and death. And unfortunately, a few have commented that I've been sharing a lot of stuff about hell. However, if you take a closer look, I've always tried to balance things out even when the video is covering exorcisms or the fall of Lucifer, etc. And I will probably balance it out by sharing other clips that talk about the Virgin Mary, redemptive suffering, theology, and so many more. I feel that it's helpful if you understand what my approach is when it comes to the videos.
Death, judgment, heaven, and hell. We don't think about these very often anymore because we become so busy. We're a busy, busy people. We become so busy that sometimes we don't even think about God or our future in heaven. I tell you this to be true. I've asked people, especially when this time of year rolls around, and many families are planning their summer vacations. Many details and planning goes into the summer vacation. If you want to plan a trip to Disney World, you have to pick the hotel, you have to get your flights, there's packages, food packages, beverage packages, park packages, Epcot Center packages. There's so many things to pick from, right? And it could take weeks to plan these things. And I always ask people, that's very nice that you have the money and the time that you can take your family to get away on a vacation. Be sure to make sure God goes with you. Do not forget about your Mass obligation on Sunday, because many do. And then I say, now, how much time this year did you plan on your arrival to heaven? And people just stare at me as though I had 14 heads. And they go, what? And I said, how much time this year have you spent planning your arrival to heaven? Have you thought about it? Almost universally, the response is no. Because, one, people don't like to think about death because it's gotten a bad rap. There's only two places we can arrive at the end of this life. Ultimately, purgatory is real and exists, and without it, most of us wouldn't make it to heaven. But in the end, everyone will either be in one of two places. You'll be in heaven or hell. You'll be a winner or you'll be a loser. That's it. And because it's so important, it's the most important thing in each of our lives, whether we know it or not. Because whatever you're doing in this life, it's going to come to an end in a fairly short amount of time. You know, even if you live to be 100, in the scope of billions of years, that's nothing. So we don't want to get off track. A simple, I mentioned this the other day, but a simple litmus test for what we want to do and how we do it is to always weigh things in light of the goal of heaven. So heaven should always be the horizon on the decisions we make. Is this bringing me closer to heaven, or is this moving me away to heaven? I have to think about it. I know some people who've moved to countries that had a very small Catholic presence, you know, even China. And but it was going to be a big advance in their career. And I said, well, that's very good monetarily, but do you have a parish where you're moving? Can you go to church? They hadn't even considered this thought. That, to me, that's very dangerous, because you'd be putting yourself in a life without the sacraments. Why would you do that? So we have to make decisions based on the goal of heaven.
And there's another clip of Father Iannuzzi that I would like to share with you. And this time it's regarding another misinformation that some people are spreading out there. When Pope said all religions are paths to God, what did he mean when he said this? Well, listen to this then.
Now, with respect to the Pope saying that all religions are the same, he never said that. In 2024, Pope Francis stated that all religions are pathways that lead to the truth. He didn't say they are the truth. Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger stated about 20 years ago that every heresy contains a truth. So when Pope Francis is saying that all religions lead to the truth, it means they contain some truth. Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger put out an encyclical document entitled Dominus Jesus, Article 5, in which he states that only the Catholic Church has the fullness of the revelation of Christ and the fullness of the truth, therefore. And so did De Verbum, a Second Vatican Council document. Article 2 said the same thing. So when we're talking about religions having some of the truth, but not all of it, there's nothing heretical about that. And I wish to ask those listening this question of whether or not the statement of Francis is accurate in the following fashion. Number one, did you choose which religion to be born in? No, most of you did not. Did you choose what country you would be born in? No. Did you choose what parents would give birth to you? No. Is there any merit in that? No. That's 4 no's. Is God going to hold you responsible if he chose that you should be born in an indigenous Andes community, brought up according to that faith with Pachamama? No. God would consider that a virtue, not by definition of the context of that religion, but by definition of the virtue of obedience to your parents. In the Old Testament, God revealed to Moses, obey your mother and your father. A child should do that. So if a child follows the religion of his or her parent, regardless of its content, the child is not responsible because their brain is not fully formed. They don't fully know right from wrong. They don't even know how to do research on religion yet. So it's a virtue for the child to be raised in the religion of the parents. That's what God sees. We look at it from just the Catholic perspective and we point our finger. God does not do that. He sees the context. Now, as that person matures, attains the age of reason, begins to think things through, then begins the vocation search. And then the responsibility grows in that individual, where now they're more culpable for the choices they make. But there's always that factor of the family pertaining to that religion, and it's part of their upbringing. God sees all these conditions that we don't. And therefore, we should not be harsh to these people, to whom the Pope is charitable when he's welcoming them to the church without ever preaching of an evisceration of the truth, a heretical doctrine, or any false idols or gods, which he's never done. No Pope has done that. Not even Pope John Paul II when he went to Assisi in this ecumenical gathering with Buddhists and Hinduists and patriarchs and all these other Christians, Protestants. Same thing with Ratzinger. He went to the same ecumenical Assisi gathering, and so did Pope Francis. There's a difference between a true ecumenism, which never departs from its point of origin, which is the proclamation of the saving truth of Christ and its transmission by the apostle and its articulation through the magisterium, and a false ecumenism, which is changing doctrine and morals. The Pope has never done that.
Well, I think that is all for the video this time. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. And hopefully all of you have learned a lot from this video. And remember, if you have any feedback or suggestion, please let us know in the comments below. And until the next one, thanks again for watching, and may God bless you.